Welcome everybody. Night two, one more night of poetry and sharing. Thank you all for being here. Please, spread the word if you can. Much appreciated. I'd like to give a shout out to a friend of ours in Pittsburgh. I say a friend of ours because she's now a member of our family because she bought a copy of almost every single one of our books. And use the 30% discount. So thank you very much if you're out there listening. Peruse if you like what you hear. Go to our website. And please, if you enjoy Yesenia's poetry, which I know you will, right? Copy yourself a copy of The Pink Box. Okay? Still a banger with cover art by our dearly departed and missed Raul Villarreal. Right? So please support our poets, support the presses that publish them. Right now, the publishing industry is kind of, taking a big hit. Small presses in particular, small presses are a little bit more maneuverable, thankfully. So a lot of us, we're hanging on, but, please support small presses as well because, they're the life's blood. From small presses, a lot of writers move to the bigger presses and then they end up on your desk, and you love them. All of our books are awesome in the classroom. The students love them because of how diverse and inclusive our model is and all the different stories we tell. So if you are considering teaching poetry, think of our books, please. We do offer special discounts to colleges and special discounts to book festivals and bookshops. All that information is right on our website. Okay, so, look us up. Okay, we're doing this. We're doing this thing. Awesome. Okay, we got some wonderful and amazing readers for you guys tonight, not just because I love and know these folks, but because I love and know their work. One thing we're gonna do tonight, just to throw a little sazon into it, is we're gonna give away a Get Fresh Books coffee mug tonight. I'd like to thank my oldest daughter Ashley for encouraging this design. She's a G. I listened to her because she's right, and it came out really dope. So we'll be giving away a Get Fresh Books mug tonight. We're having a giveaway as well of Get Fresh Books mug, 2 books of your choice, and a $50 Amazon gift card. All you got to do is head over to our Instagram and look that up. Natalia, our social media manager, very cleverly came up with the rules to that. And so let's honor her hard work by going over to our Instagram and checking that out. Okay, we greatly appreciate it. We want to give you books, a coffee mug, some money to spend for the holiday. I think that would be great. We're just trying to make friends, right? All right. People keep coming in. I gotta keep admitting folks. Okay. So here we go. Our first reader tonight is the wonderful Gail Langstroth. Gail is not only going to read poems, but she's also going to provide us with a performance of her poetry, which Gail does beautifully. For 40 years, American poet, eurythmist, and stage artist Gail Langstroth has collaborated and performed with international artists in North and South America, Japan, Spain, Germany, Russia, and Romania. Just to let y'all know, sometimes when Gail emails me, I'm like, Gail, where are you? And she's like, I'm in this little town in Peru. It's beautiful. I'm like, okay. 2 days later, Gail, where are you? I'm on a balcony in Germany. I'm like, Gail, where are you? It's like, Gail has airline miles, okay? One of her performance pieces, Rivulets, won first prize at the Teatro La Scala competition in Basel, Switzerland. Gail's also a prize-winning poet and writer. She won the Patricia Dobler Poetry Prize and the Jeffster Award for her article, The Named, the Nameless. She's also been an honorable mention and runner-up several times. Gail now makes Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania her home. On December 13th, Get Fresh Books will be hosting a celebration of Gail's book, Fire Garden, Jardín de Fuego, which is just beautiful. Let me show that to the camera. It is a bilingual book. Gail not only wrote the poems in English, but then provided a Spanish translation of the poems. Gail officially says she speaks 3 languages, but I'm sure she dabbles in a lot more than that. Everybody welcome Gail.
Thank you, Roberto. I'm going to try to put myself on big here so I can, there we go. Okay, so in order to bridge these distances, I'd like to do the names of my comadres in eurythmy. This is an art that I've been working on for over 50 years. I lived in Europe for 38 years. It's pretty unknown in this country, so I've become a soloist. So I would like to do Grisel's name, and then Lynne's name, and then Marina, and then Yesenia. So if I pronounce your names wrong, forgive me, I'll correct that. And Lynne, and Marina. And then our beloved Yesenia. So, to warm us up, those were your names made visible, because when we're speaking, we're shaping air. So the art of eurythmy, we make speech visible or music visible. And I'd like to start tonight with a poem out of my latest book, which I'm looking for a publisher. And it was born right here in this room. I have my morning breakfast table here, these 9 months of lockdown. And I really was brought to the question, how am I, as an advantaged white American woman, to be able to even understand, enter into the pain, the life of our beloved Black brothers and sisters. And so I have a cemetery out here in my backyard. Every one of these individuals who's been innocently shot, I made a marker. I have a poem about what I made, why. So here we go. Juneteenth. I sear toward a hole. I gnaw this hollow. I know. To be a white American now means stand in this. Feel. Feel shame. Feel the words King Solomon sang 3,000 years ago. Set me as a seal upon your heart. So that's a line out of the Hebrew, out of the Song of Solomon, chapter 8, verse 6. Set me as a seal upon your heart. And the book I'd like to talk about tonight that you must buy is You Don't Have to Go to Mars for Love by Yona Harvey. I'm on my 4th run through with this book. I read very, very, very slowly. As Yona once said to me, as I said to her, a poem is a poem if it moves me to want to move it. So there are a bunch of poems in here. But the other day, I set out to memorize one of these poems. And I must tell you, it's a step in a direction where you really begin to allow the poem to melt into you and speak. So I discovered this subtle, the nuances of what I call tucked rhyme, sound, assonance, consonance. And Yona is a master of repetition. She repeats and repeats and repeats, and each time you think, and she does it again and again and again, and somehow it's like that thing in a symphonic work or a piece of music where you have a theme and later it repeats itself, and it's always different. And then the magnificent thing about Yona and this book is surprise. I don't know how she gets where she is, but all of a sudden, there I am. And so it's as if there is a continual murmuring of revolution, of dynamite, of explosion, of lightning bolts, but it's always very, very, very subtle. So I suggest buy this book. You don't have to go to Mars for love. You buy this book. This is love. And now on to my first book, Fire Garden, Jardín de Fuego. The journey was a surprise. I didn't start out and say, oh yeah, I want to have my first book be bilingual. Because when I came back to this country, and thanks to Anne-Marie and Drew University, I was not in the English language. I had been speaking Spanish and German for decades. And so what happened over the years, traveling to other countries, between rehearsals, after performances, I love to go and sit in a bar, a cafe. I started translating my own poems, or I was translating poems that I needed for a lecture, or perhaps for a performance. And then I would take the translation that I was working with and maybe meet up with somebody over dinner. And all of a sudden, the conversation sort of turned, and we were talking about language, and it was an explosion of a love of language. So this has been a journey of much joy. To find a press, finally, thank you, Roberto and Get Fresh. The first press I went to said, you don't translate your own stuff. And I thought, woman? This was a woman. I said, you're going to deny me the pleasure of what this is all about, because whether you know a language or not, you're translating a poem. It happens to be your own, doesn't make any difference. And all of a sudden, I found myself discovering the Spanish language. And the cover is my own work, thanks to particular graphic designers that I've been working with for years in Germany and in Poland, and now she's in LA. They inspired me to use one of my own graphic works, because I also have a monstrous gallery up on the 3rd floor with all of my collages and line drawings. So whichever book I produce in the future, it will probably have a cover of my own. So we'll start. Have you ever been like wiped out, like erased by something that someone says? In blackness, like a star. With your knife heart and plum voice, you erase me. 2 nights I dreamed chalk, white fields. The day before I took a train to Bochum. Tom and I spoke about Kasimir Malevich, how he left the image, painted a black square on white. It was a tick crooked, done without a ruler. He painted what he saw, an infinite space where spirit indicates a new logic. You continue to talk, to erase. My black star wants to see this borrando, hablando. Mi estrella negra desea. The title of that poem, My Black Star Wants, is a line from Lucille Clifton's poem, John. And as Roberto said, I used to travel a lot. I will hopefully again. And 4 years ago, I finished up a tour in South America, and the last stop was Brazil. And all of a sudden, I had 5 to 10 days free because things had changed. It was going to be too expensive to rebook my flight. So I happened to meet a Pilates teacher, and she gave me the keys to her villa on the Brazilian Riviera. So a friend drove me there. It was quite a long trek with grocery shopping, so I had enough food. And it was their winter, so everything was locked down. But the interesting thing was, I had been to the jungle many times, but I never really lived in the jungle. And in this complex were these villas. Each villa had a view of the jungle. And I found that looking out in the morning, wrap up in a blanket, take my coffee, my muesli, my breakfast, and the flora, the fauna, the colors, the smells, the sounds, my dream life changed and my sense of time changed. Sunday morning, San Lorenzo, Brazil. We need patience in order to witness the moment when all cobalt blue dreams return, dressed in one number, embossed in the green wing chirp of spring cricket. We need patient unexpectancy in order to feel the moment, like this Sunday. Monkey screams bulldoze the jungle and aim each dream at one Zen red bullseye. Realzados en el verde del alcherido del grillo primaveral, necesitamos paciencia frente a lo inesperante para poder sentir como este domingo monogritos arrasan la selva y apuntan cada sueño a una roja zen diana. Simple pájaro. Cuando tú andas solo, tierra adentro, tragas en tu cuerpo las llamas que ningún fuego quiere. Cuando tú andas sola, arrojas la ceniza que queda. Jose, simple. When you step solo, turf infinite, and you in-body swallow flames that no fire wants. When you step solo, you shed ash that is left. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Give it up for Gail, everybody. Awesome. It's so rare to continue to see this blend of the arts, physical movement with poetic expression or poetry. I myself am always looking for jazz accompanied by poetry, right? Or poets with rappers doing a hip hop fusion. So thank you for that, Gail. Next up is Dr. Grisel Yolanda Acosta. Vaya. You know, I always every time I'm like going through Grisel's like manuscript and looking at it, and when I'm looking at her bio, I say, you know, yes, Grisel is an academic, but with the heart and soul of a poet, right? And that's in my mind. You don't get that a lot. You know what I mean? There's some rare. So you're in some rarefied air, doctor. Okay. Grisel is an associate professor at the City University of New York, BCC, in the Bronx, where I will be sharing some time and space with some of her students there and some of Vincent's students as well, right? Vincent Toro's students. And that's open to the public via Zoom. So just check out my Instagram, her Instagram, and you'll get or Facebook, whichever one you're on, and you can get the details for that. I can't wait. Their students are always awesome. Her forthcoming book with Get Fresh Books, Things to Pack on the Way to Everywhere. I can't wait for you guys to read this book. It was a finalist for the Andres Montoya Poetry Prize. Okay, and it will be in the world in April 2021. So give it up for that. Her other book, Latina Outsiders, Remaking Latina Identity, featuring over 30 contributors, will be in paperback form in December of this year. So please look for that as well. Okay. Grisel and Vincent have an amazing taste in music. And when this pandemic is over, I'm going to go to their house with a bottle of bourbon and I want them to just DJ for me because wow. Give it up, everybody, for Grisel Acosta.
Thank you so much, Roberto. Thank you to everyone who came out tonight for poetry. I absolutely love that. And I just want to thank my fellow readers, Gail, Lynne, Marina, and Yesenia. It's great to be reading with all of you tonight. And let me see if I could change the view.
I'll do that.
Oh, okay, you got that?
Yes, done.
Okay. So tonight I'm gonna start out by honoring Sara Borja, who she was actually a part of the Latinx Poetry Series at BCC tonight, earlier tonight. And there's a reason that she won the 2020 American Book Award for her most recent book, which is Heart Like a Window, Mouth Like a Cliff. So I just want all of you to be aware of that book tonight and just have that on your shelf as part of Thanksgiving. And the poem that I'm going to read is called Mija. When mother calls me Mija over the phone, my vertebrae, discordant map of chow mein and stars, feels saucy. And even though my lips are rusted, when mother calls me in Spanish, the gold loops spiral in me. The caldo de res, the chopped carrots, the no measure cooking, the stiff broom good for corners, the stubborn apology, the mangled love, the cacti exploding in my molcajete body, Mija, my first galaxy, my revolving and my stuck door, my mashed window, my pocha leash, my buried tenderness, what my mother still wants, her mother, to call and say. So that is Sara Borja. And I'm going to go ahead and jump into my own reading. Things to Pack on the Way to Everywhere is pretty much what the title says. It's a book that I gathered amongst things that I thought would be useful to me. All right, so yeah, the book is basically like a basket, like a bag, like a backpack that you would fill with items that hopefully will allow you to keep moving on your journey. And I find that most of what I write, it always has to do with movement. It always has to do with what will be useful to me on my many, many paths. So I'm just going to jump right in. And as we are approaching the holidays, I want to recognize my dad, who passed away about a year ago. And this is about his death certificate, where someone, I just discovered this recently, someone filled in his race incorrectly. Invisible ink. I did not read my dad's death certificate. Too many bureaucratic lines, fine print woven onto thick paper, paid for per copy. I shoved them in a folder, forgot the moment we signed him into ash. Today, I pulled the final forms out of a leopard bag. Noticed he was rendered white, like a ghost, despite a mother whose grandfather was a cacique, father more Langston than Williams, black, like ink seeping into tree pulp, a mishmash of fiber, pressed carbon, and the fear of squid. Erased, a blank page, a deleted history, typed in foreign letters. And this next poem is about my being a professor in academia. It is called Master of Academia. You've made me into such a pretty doll. You like me that way. Stiff, limbed, like the immobilized unions appeased with banging pots outside the high-rise windows of leadership who hear nothing. Refused to look at my shaved head, an affront to the required subscription to gender radioactivity, disintegrating my DNA into long hair, hedges, and the many, "Oh, can you explain that to me?" and the "I agree with" fill in white colleague's name here. Sentences like a feminized torture made of hands, feet, and eyes bound with the pages of a canon that renders me invisible. Silenced my language into a cohort of students in the permanent purgatory of perpetual remediation, forcing them to write stories that center the exported version of your white supremacy and how it tore off their own doll legs at the border. Also, you can say, "How sad," and remind them of the difference between run and ran, making sure the battery in my own back is kept on low and the string you pull mimics your own voice. Placed a filter in front of my image that whitens my appearance, straightens my doll hair, renders me into a bland soup without flavor, like a classroom discussion devoid of application, meaning, and context, obscuring the paths Black and brown scholars need, or like the vapid creation of a committee to address the need for a committee formed to address the statistics that show that Afro-Latinx professors cannot move into dead muñeca leadership positions on committees in their departments. Despite tenure, I am an adjunct, a non-essential part, an accessory ready to be dismissed by the child who grew bored with its toy, tossed into a life without health care, certainty, or dinner, parties, put on expense accounts, held under rotundas built brick by our students' ancestors who are forgotten by you and them because all of the statues on campus teach them nothing about themselves. See the doll you created, or don't see it. It is your choice, your whim. Meanwhile, I have started a bonfire, set myself ablaze. Parts are burning, smoke is rising. Facades are there to mask reality. You never saw me coming. And I'm going to keep that energy going with a poem that is not in the book, but it will find a new home somewhere. But I've just been trying to read this poem everywhere I can. It's about storytelling, and it is called "Time to Kill the Woman Over 40." She will already be dead, oftentimes. The mother who died giving birth to a teen who keeps her photo in a heart-shaped box under the bed. The wife who died of cancer so we can see her husband mourn for her for a tight 90. The Nana who left an inheritance to her litigious offspring. A ghost who haunts new homeowners, attempting to soothe her longing for a lost, unrequited love. But if she is alive, thriving at her upstart, excited about her new chapter at 50, mentoring the young with a kind heart and words, we will never know, because she must be killed. She will be blown to pieces in an explosion after devoting herself to an English spy. She will have her neck broken, succumbing to her husband's mafia debts, and the actress who plays her will have her head chopped off again by trolls and Twitter bots, asking why such an old actress was fucking an actor of her same age on screen. She will die at the hands of a serial killer, and the audience will groan at the sight of her cellulite on the autopsy table. She will die after convincing her husband to support their son's dream, and we will never learn if she had a dream of her own. But what of the bitches who live? We must hate them and wish them dead. These harridans will strut around their Spanx foundations and fitted suits, act like they own DC, even though they have no children. Women over 40 without children can't lead. These scumbags in aerosols who are just waiting for their impending AARP discounts like entitled primordial muck will attempt to advise their trainees only to be met with looks from younger Google execs who say, why was this person even cast in this story? If they are not dead, we must wish them dead. They will be evil stepmothers lurking in bushes, waiting to trick naive heiresses, stab them with a sword. They will be insane zombies sealed in a tank, waiting to chew your gray matter off with their heads. They will be pathetic, over-tanned, oversexed swingers just waiting to get their paws on your under 30, still lubricated skin, drown them in the sea. They will be bookish nerds planning an elaborate scheme to trap you via snowfall accident, imprisoning you in their home, pretending to mother you, kill them with your bare hands. But mainly, they will just be absent, gone, not written at all, dead before the story even starts. And let's face it, who really misses something or someone they never knew at all? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you very much.
It's a quote of Vincent, boom for real, he says, right? Boom for real. Thank you so much, Grisel. That was dope. Can't wait for y'all to read that. And then maybe we'll have to talk about like why that poem's not in the book. And maybe it should be in the book, right? Espérate, like she was like, this is not in the book, but like a little, you know, we're gonna get that in there. We're gonna get that in there. All right. Thank you so much, everyone so far. Gail, Grisel. Our next reader is Lynne McEniry. Yay, Lynn. I don't know. I can't say it enough, Lynn. As you know, we're like a cooperative press, right? So when and whenever possible and however possible, poets that we publish, give something back to the press to help us keep the press working and going and moving, right? It's part of this whole ecosystem thing that maybe I'll talk a little bit more about tomorrow on the last night, just so we give everybody time to read. But Lynn is invaluable in that process, right? As are Natalia and Victoria. Natalia is with us. She's doing things in the background right now. And Victoria is a very studious intern who couldn't be with us today. But I just want to always say my gratitude for everything that Lynn does, and just a wonderful human being that she is. Thank you, Lynn. Lynne McEniry is the author of the poetry collection Some Other Wet Landscape, in lowercase. Let's not forget that goes in lowercase. We were so proud to publish Lynn's book, and to continue to publish, Lynn's work if she'll have us. Her poems have been nominated for a Pushcart Prize and have been twice recognized for the Allen Ginsberg Poetry Award. Lynn shares her time collaborating on and curating poetry for various projects with Arts by the People. She screens and edits manuscripts and individual poems for various journals, presses, and individual poets. Born in Yonkers, because we can't say Yonkers, we got to say Yonkers, New York. Lynn lives in Morristown, New Jersey, where she's also an English professor at St. Elizabeth University. Give it up for Lynn. And let me see.
Hey, thanks everybody. Roberto, I would not be where I am without you, and Gail and Grisel and Marina and Yesenia. I am right in the middle of the best company tonight, so thank you, all of you. I wanted to show you Hanif Abdurraqib's book that I'm spending a lot of time with, The Fortune for Your Disaster, right now, but I left it in my office today. I'm reading that book every day, and he's teaching me to listen closely to race and my responsibility. And he's also teaching me so much about music and loss and love. And my son is moving to his city in April, so that was an added bonus. I didn't know it was happening, but yeah, so he's in Columbus, so I just love his work. But I forgot the book on my desk, and this book came in the mail today. It's really a good, beautiful, brand new anthology. And my dad's birthday would be on Thursday, on Thanksgiving. He would be 80. So I'm going to read this poem by E.J. Coe. I love her work very much, her poetry, and she has a beautiful memoir called The Magical Language of Others that I really recommend. So this poem by E.J. Coe is Father in His Old Age. There is a Korean belief that you are born the parents of the one who hurt you most. Watching my father use chopsticks to split chicken katsu, he confesses that I may be the reincarnation of his own father. We finished our waters in silence and walked home chatting about who to blame for where we are. He says, the present is the revenge for the past. Revenge goes too far, I argue, and our unhappiness, we both want to know we cannot pay enough. Pain becomes meaning. After this life, I fear I'll never meet him again. And Kathy Engel last night read about her dad, and we've spent many years talking about our dads together and Grisel. So I hope all our dads who are not with us are up somewhere, wherever the universe brings them, in company together and celebrating us. And I'm going to read one of my own poems for my dad. This is the book. Yesenia's cover by Raul Villarreal. He's a good friend of ours, and he did my cover too. And little fun fact, the background on my book is actually the floor of his art studio. It's a cement floor, and he colored it to match, and this is his oil painting here. He died suddenly and tragically a year ago. And so Raul, he's with us now. And let's see, this poem is for my dad. Locust Hill Revisited, December 24th, 2003. And there's an epigraph, Rihanna Fair, Beckett. Nothing could have warned us of the weather. We had rock salt and shovel at the door for days before waiting for death, for snow. Children and grandchildren woke together in his house. It had been raining all night. If it were cold enough for snow, we'd be measuring it in feet. It was up to us to console the mourners. We understand. Get back on the road to your last minute shopping and wrapping. We'll be fine at the cemetery ourselves on Christmas Eve. The groundskeeper told us we could not bury our father that day. The hole they dug kept closing in on itself. Umbrellas and boots useless as we slogged to the chapel for final farewells. We told the piper, of course, he should go, but he soldiered on, an extra raincoat over his pipes, as he played us out of our cars and back again. And this poem is called An Occasional Poem for an Occasion for Which No One Asked Me to Write a Poem or even thought I would or should. And this poem is for Isabel, a real life Wonder Woman, and I dedicate it to all the other Write On Poet babes, Marina and Tamara and Kathy and Paula. And here we go. Remember how we'd wait all day for the Anjoli commercial? Thought we were so cool, smoking cools in our mother's high heel shoes, carrying our father's briefcase full of blues. I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan. Never let you forget you're a man. Too young to work or cook or fuck. We knew we could do it, do that, do him, and do more if we could just get a spritz or two of that 8-hour perfume for the 24-hour woman. We didn't know any real life Anjoli woman, but every day we enacted that 30-second spot. We just knew that the good life would be ours if we could get our hands on that magic gold bullet-shaped bottle. We'd be spritzing out gender slander in the name of power, love, money. For 30 seconds, a few times each day, we lived like Wonder Women. Every 30 seconds, an occasion to fool ourselves into thinking we had it all when we had almost nothing at all. Little did we know that the singer of our favorite ditty was born Norma, divorced a 4th time in her 40s, and the inspiration for a pink pig puppet. But never mind what's behind the scenes. And this is Thin Place, after Jean Valentine. Leave fear on your pillow, she says, when we meet in this thin place. No fear in this thin place, she says, without moving her lips. My hand reaches easily inside to remove my fear not. No mess, just release as I follow her eyes. Place fear on the ocean floor, just inside the coral door to this thin place where we've met again. She reaches for my hand, buoys me as I float from dark dream to daylight. And this poem is Confession for Yesenia. Neither do I know how to love properly. My hands, though, are more palms shut, palms holding too tight to palm, making sweaty palms, palms fooling themselves, palms pressed too tight, one unto the other, until my heart line and my lifeline are too blurred for the most practiced of palm readers. And I'm left with nothing to show for it and stand mumbling my historical stories of lack, of longing, if only love, then safety, then release. But not really release, trapped there like garden dirt, packed tight under each nail, like the microscopic bumps of the 5-year-old wart, the blue veins bulging when fingers squeeze tight, when palms and fingers strangle for fear of letting go. And I'm going to read a new poem that I wrote during the pandemic, and I'm honored that Marina has chosen to include it in the Divine Feminist memoir that many of us know about, that will be coming out pretty soon. So this poem is Holy, Holy, Holy. Holy dead deer on the shoulder of the road, holy 5-car pileup, and holy traffic jam. All make us slow down, all make us decide, do we look, do we turn away as you save us from ourselves, from our speeding through the day, from our turning up the tunes, tuning out the world as we rush from place to place. Holy dead dear, this day praise God, you are whole in your leaving your body, intact your tender broken body, oh, so worthy of our sorrow, of our pouring out of praise for your beauty, your final gifts of grace with us, the will to live slowly, live tenderly, live carefully, and holy the 5-car pileup, result of the one who made you holy, dear, the one who swerved and the one who hit you, and the 5 who hit them. In our mercy and love, even though strangers to us, their holiness calls for us to bow our heads ever so briefly, to cross ourselves, Father, Son, Spirit, to pray to God even in our doubting him, because you 5 cars and you inside them are holy in your life-giving, worthy of devotion, and all before you who have served in your own way, even without knowing, would serve as catalyst for our own safety. And holy traffic jam, you who we tend to want to curse, you who become holy when the deer has died and the 5 cars have piled, you become for us holy, you model for us forgiveness. Forgive the greed, forgive selfishness, trade sin for grace, trade wrath for mercy, trade our frustration for compassion. Holy dear, holy 5-car pileup, holy traffic jam. In your suffering, let me find silence to pray. Let me know sacrifice. Let me beg, Lord, or whoever, have mercy on my soul. Teach me patience, grace, and eyes wide open to the holy that surrounds me. And I'm going to close with this short COVID poem that has no title yet, poem. I thought I was done being pregnant, kids in their 30s, no period for the past 2 years, but these COVID dreams are so real that my uterus is still contracting 3 days later. Still trying to forget that this time I chose to end it early. Why, I don't even know why or how I got pregnant in the first place. In this dream, I found it to be true what they said, that once babies are born and fine and life went on, I would forget the pain. And I found that to be true until now, when even after I'm fully awake and realizing that the giving up the baby is my fear for my own grown children, living socially distant with no way for me to keep them safe from a silent killer that could sneak in without their consent and suck the life from their lungs. And 3 days after the dream, I'm still expecting blood in the toilet, still wondering how long this will go on. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Wow, that was absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you. You had the chat on fire. You had the chat on fire. Again, thank you to everyone so far. If you are thinking of teaching Lynn's book or want a way to enter the book, there is a wonderful essay written by Pamela Hirschler in Tupelo Quarterly called Personal Narrative in Lynne McEniry's Some Other Wet Landscape and the work of Lucille Clifton and Dorian Locks. You can please read that essay as a way to enter the book or use it as a teaching tool should you be teaching the book in your classes. Thanks again, Lynn. Thank you so much. OBKB. I don't know how many of you guys used to watch the television show Fat Albert and the Gang, but the dude used to always say OBKB, right? And that has always stuck with me since I was a kid because I love that show. As I said, as I always like to say, last but never least, it's a continuum of dopeness that we got going on here. Is my sister from another mister. Aren't you all my sisters from another mister, though? Right? Aren't you all? But Jesse, I'm so glad to have you here with us. It always just feels like a reunion to me, but that's a whole nother story. Yesenia Montilla is an Afro-Latina poet and the daughter of immigrants. Her poetry has appeared in the chapbook for the Crowns of Your Head, as well as the literary journals Gulf Coast, Prairie Schooner, Pittsburgh Poetry Review, and others. She received her MFA from Drew University. Woo woo. Anne-Marie, what's up? She has her MFA in Poetry and Poetry in Translation. She's a Canto Mundo Fellow. Her first collection, The Pink Box, is published by Willow Books. Shout out to Willow. And was longlisted for a PEN Award in 2016. And again, this is the cover of the book, painted by Raul Villarreal. He also did Lynn's book, as she explained. A wonderful artist and a beautiful person whose dad knew Ernest Hemingway. Here's like a little kind of fun fact about him, whose dad knew Ernest Hemingway. And when I visited the Ernest Hemingway house, I saw the book his dad, I think he co-wrote it with someone. He was on the cover with Hemingway, which is just really wild. Her second poetry collection, Muse, Found in a Colonized Body, is forthcoming from Four Way Books in 2022. She lives in Harlem. Please welcome the lovely, the beautiful, the amazing Yesenia Montilla.
I got it. Hey, everyone. So, hi, Anne-Marie. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. I'm going to be reading a poem from a book I'm reading right now, which is Ricardo Alberto Maldonado's Life Assignment. I don't know if you guys know about this book. Besides the fact that it's an incredible book, he had the nerve to do like a full picture of himself as his author bio, the nerve of him. What I love about this book is that it's sort of, it's asking us to think of our relationship to capital, commodity, capitalism, and what we're willing to do to survive. So look out for this beautiful book if you don't have it. I'm gonna read the last poem in the book. It's called Vita Nuovo. In the book of the life I have made, my memory would appear cursed about halfway by affairs and irrational fears. Capitalism is inescapable. We were popular with men we knew. Light strikes my white tennis shorts, and life feels life in a city for each still visible and waiting. This is the 21st century. We never leave when life is elsewhere. The clemency of men disappears, as does the light tarring the roof. So this is Ricardo Alberto Maldonado, The Life Assignment. And my first poem that I'm going to read is sort of in conversation a little bit with some of the themes of his book. It's called Manifest Destiny. How we took something like universal law and made it violent. How we are violent. How we think destiny is two things, a reward or a good time. How we think manifest is one thing, a destiny. How we don't know how to be still. How we don't know how to desire and then let go. How we want it all only to be less than tender with it. How when springtime comes around, we find ourselves in a field surrounded by dandelions, and when a soft wind blows, the specks stir and take flight around us. How we know nothing, so we call it snow. Most of all the poems I'm going to be reading are from the new book. Those of you who know me know that I sort of have an obsession with Eartha Kitt. I'm reading two poems with Eartha Kitt in it. So this is the first one, Eartha Kitt as Muse. The eyes are saucers filled with every forlorn woman's last meal, roasted chicken and a good Bordeaux. And how the heart is found in the next thick artery, ready for a man's good touch. Eartha, I know nothing about fame or fortune, but I know a little about being so lonely that even the flower's elaborate bloom cannot keep me company. You're so damn pretty that I could write a poem about you, and insert lover's name. We both have had plenty to spare, and darling, I love how we look in the mirror and kiss the air, and how when our hand waves in greeting, the sky and all its particles dance, and a sweet sigh escapes from our parted lips. And isn't that sound a kind of tenderness? How laughter bolts from our mouths like a wild heart drumming. This is how we muzzle the world. I've been doing these meditations with Deepak Chopra, and it's like Oprah, it's a whole thing. And Oprah like talks a little bit at the beginning, and you're like, oh, Oprah, and then Deepak comes in and like guides you through it. So this has some of that in there. It's called Letting Go. During meditation this morning, Oprah tells me to dream it and let it go. Dream it and send it to the universe. She doesn't know that I hold on to my dreams as if they were lovers, hold on way past the expiration date, way past the signifier for loosen your grip, eons after the thing I loved most is dead in my hands. I want to say to Oprah, what if the universe wants to keep the things I want for itself? The chiffon dress mustard-colored, dreaming, the hummingbird's wings buzzing as fast as my poet's mind, is bird-faced with its human eyelashes flirting with all of my wanting. Oprah, what if the universe keeps my beach house, my yogi body, my late nights kissing Holly and Michael B equally? What if I dreamt so big that the universe thinks I'm too small for such musings? My hands become wine goblets, pouring out rainwater, pouring out desire, like 10,000 meteors flashing in the sky. There, look, there. Somewhere between this constellation and that, every poem I've ever written in the universe's library, undiscovered and weeping in the dark. So this is my second poem with Eartha Kitt in it. On finding out that Eartha Kitt engaged in a threesome with James Dean and Paul Newman. Yes, So that's life altering when I found that out. I can't, for the life of me, imagine such splendor. It is said that Eartha labeled it the most celestial experience. Brown buds and pink sticks, and I believe it. I tell Christina that in times of peace, my body craves women, but in times of war, upheaval, deep chaos, only two men would do. She tells me I'm onto something, and I imagine the war that led Eartha to that kind of lovely, tangled mess, how her body made them bend, how they were rope, snake, and rod, how they worshipped her. Paul's blue eyes, piercing and deliberate, making wildfire there, and how James' pretty mouth hummed an indulgent vacuum against her fold. I tell you, there has been war all around me for months now. I fear the future, a post-apocalyptic scene out of a movie that has yet to be made. I tell my body, easy lady, we're in a pandemic. You're asking for too much. And still, the news each day tells me unauthorized troops will be headed to my city, and my vote will get lost somewhere between my home and whatever office deems it real. I am lethargic in my activism. I have been lulled into inertia. All I do is touch myself with more than four hands, live for my next orgasm. I dream in twos. On my knees in front of my altar, I pray to Eartha for her quick wit, her fine-ass body, her opportunities, so I may lose all sense while the tear gas is set loose, while the dictator reigns. Fuck, I'm only human. All I want is to feel safe. Two more, maybe? Three more, because I have one for Roberto. Okay, this one's for friends. This is, I write with a group that's led by Cheryl Boyce Taylor. It's called Elma's Heart Circle. And so I wrote this for them around the same time that Nipsey Hussle died. So this is called, We Started with Madness and Ended in Car Washes. We are a rebellion, a cuckoo clock that never stops. We make warfare daily. And if I could call us anything, I'd call us home. Yesterday, I said madness, and you said everything else. Because we're our own language, our own hands reaching for something familiar in the dark. We were meant to be our own little kingdom with big mouths and smart comments. We open wide and it's a wormhole. We suck in and spit out. We make plans and find trouble. We say, I love you, and we mean thank you. I woke up wanting to say one true thing. Friendship is the only country whose sovereignty I recognize. People underestimate us. We're only shy, not unambitious. We are going to make gazillions off of automated car washes in Hunts Point and Riverdale. It's going to slap the madness out of us when we jet set to the Riviera or St. Bart or City Island, that dreamy place off the coast of the Bronx. I swoon at the sight of us. I rattle, my whole heart a dying dwarf till you. Everything is crumbling. So I looked up my birth chart. I needed a reminder for why I always want to run away from stability. Being a Leo in sign and rising can't compete with my Gemini moon, how it becomes bored at the slightest sense of habitual dress up, how it fears being a fraud, and my Venus, how it resides in Cancer and its seventh house of perpetual falling, how I might die falling off cliffs downstairs in love. How if I look at someone and wish, be mine, what I mean is, tell me I'm worthy. How all I really want is to be a Pisces moon like my mother, whose madness is a cursive M pinned to the soles of her feet. How she steps off chairs and buildings and trees and never falls. How she floats, a star dangling, a spore, an albatross strewing against a periwinkle blue. And this is the last one. And this is for Roberto. Imagining him running at the sight of deer. I was not there, but she tells me the story over and over. How after spotting a mob of deer, he ran like someone who is afraid to become the other becoming. The sound an animal makes, all guttural, bottomless, and rooted. He who feeds me joy and sorrow equally, with one golden tongue and eyes so bright, I imagine stars once living in the hollow sockets of his caramel face. And let's be clear, he ran from deer because he knows that beautiful doesn't always equal tame, and that gentle things are the ones that risk it all, which is to say, if deer could talk, they will tell you something about wanting to kill a thing and about being killed. And we oblige. We kill them for sport and with great carelessness, and we do each other the same. So he ran from deer because maybe he understands that one day the targeted animal will fight back. It will straighten out his long neck like a heron, and his eyes will become wild. And this is what being hunted does to a man. I mean, deer. I mean, any animal on this earth. We live and we die. What happens in between is not up to fate, but something more complex. Say mystery. Say the lover's soft back in moonlight. Say fear. Say the smell of honeysuckle in a barren field. Say hunger. And I say, run. Run. It's the only thing our body does well enough, good enough to stay alive.
Ooh, that poem always gets me at the end. Oh, it always gets me at the end with the. Thank you so much. You know, I just want to say that the name Get Fresh Books and the name Get Fresh Crew was coined by Jessie. She was like, "We're a little Get Fresh crew," right? Remember? And that really, it just stuck, you know? One, I grew up obviously listening to, and with the Get Fresh crew, Dougie Fresh and the crew. But that really stuck. You know, Marina Carreira is a queer Luso-American multimedia artist from Newark, New Jersey. She's the author of Save the Bathwater, which we were so super duper proud to publish. And I Sing to That Bird knowing it won't sing back, a chapbook she published with Finishing Line Press. As a visual artist, she has exhibited her work at the Mars Museum, Art Front Galleries, and Monmouth University Center for the Arts, among others. Most recently, she had a piece called, what was it? Is it Madonna as Black Lives Matter? Is that right? And it was displayed on, was it either the Empire State Building or in Times Square?
Union Square.
In Union Square, which is like hella dope. Please. Also, wait. Marina and I go to the same tattoo artist, right? You go to Mikey?
Yes, I do go to him occasionally.
Nice.
Well, I cheat on my tattoo artist, so.
You what?
I cheat on my tattoo artist. So.
With 30 tattoos, I'm sure you do. What? That's her little fun fact. She has 30 tattoos, y'all. Mad love. Let's give it up for Marina Carreira.
Thank you, Roberto. Thank you to all the readers tonight. Yesenia, that was beautiful. Lynn, Grisel, Gail, thank you so much. Did I forget anybody? I don't think so. Thank you for sharing your words, and thank you all for being here tonight and sticking around. So Lynn sort of plugged the book that I'm sharing tonight, and I'm going to shamelessly share it with you. This is the Divine Feminist Anthology, which will be out in the spring from Get Fresh Books. It is one of my greatest projects to date. It is an anthology of poetry and art by women and non-binary folks. So it's an art book, right? It's a book that belongs in so many spaces, and I'm so proud of it. And I'm so proud that we have, Grisel in it, Isabel, Yesenia, Lynn, so many, Darla, so many Get Fresh authors in it, along with 40 something other amazing women and non-binary poets. I wanted to share some of the art with you from the book, since it is an art book. This is a piece by Lillian Ribeiro, who is a Newark artist. That's Lillian's piece from the book. And I wanted to share with you a piece called Vecina, and it's by Luisa Pinzon, also a Newark-based artist. Beautiful, beautiful photographs from women in Colombia. And the last art piece I'll share is a self-portrait by Carla Curry, who was also Newark-based, but she lives in New York now. And I'm going to read a poem from the anthology, and it's by another Get Fresh poet that actually read last night, but I love this poem so much that I'm going to share it with you. And it is called The Universe Inside Me by Isabel Gonzalez. The universe inside me gleams and swirls on my tongue, planets circling each other, and as they revolve, grow closer to dust. My ancestors gifted me this universe, dared me to keep it alive. Surviving is what I do best, watering other universes as I walk along. Some days, I bet on my dear imbalances to strike, tilting planets and knocking off rings, black holes seizing my tongue and teeth into itself. Other days, I unpeel my star husk where you find me bare, flesh having leapt from my bones, bones having rattled into the distance, only my little universe whirling and thriving. On these days, I dare you to toss into me your own twinkling chaos and wild, which I thread through my worlds, spun gold. I'm a shining supernova, and no one can bear to look directly into my big, glittery beauty. The universe inside me is thankful for all the little gods and universes that glide next to each other, on tongues and in throats, hovering over eyebrows and in dimples. Grateful for the light we make, thankful for the quiet and noise as we spin unknowingly beside each other. Shifting universes that takes such force, never knowing what kind of day it will be. But you and me, we dance anyway in the beautiful black pulsating lights, throbbing throughout an entire divine lit face. That's one of my favorite pieces from the Divine Feminist Anthology. Please support it when it comes out. It's going to be amazing and beautiful. It's already amazing and beautiful, but once it's, in your hands, it'll be a dream. So please support the anthology when it comes out this spring. So I'm going to be reading from Save the Bathwater tonight, and it was my first full-length collection of poems, graciously published by Get Fresh Books, and it's my baby, So I haven't read from my baby in forever, and it feels like a coming home, sort of. So I'm going to read you 4 poems from this collection about growing up bilingual and bicultural daughter of immigrants in Newark, New Jersey. First generation. We land on grass-cracked cement, school bus spewing smoke on LA gears that no longer light up. Latchkey, wet and too cool for umbrellas. No one waits in the afternoon to figure out math or Mark Twain. Our folks work late, come home late. We land in bodegas for quarter juices and cigarettes. Curse in a Voss tongue, C's and R's spinning and unraveling spools of guttural blue. We are the tame horses wild with love dreams, galloping past streets, states, oceans, back to childhood summers where we met lovers at midnight among pines speckled with darkness. We petal, then bruise. We ripe apples ripped off well before harvest. We land in adolescence. We never come of age. Bodega Blues. 1. At age 8, 61 cents gets me 61 Swedish fish, all the soft red comfort I need after a day of the alphabet in 2 languages, and a lunch lady who deems me stocky enough for 1 serving. Half the red gummies never see my grandmother's door as I imagine them in my stomach like jarred fireflies. Sometimes I pull them as far as they'll stretch just to see if they'll shriek. Other times I swallow them whole to spare their suffering, simultaneously punishing myself for my cruelty, my gelatinous gluttony. I never share, and the Va knows better than to ask for one. My medicine, I say to his smirk, as we turn the corner, leaving Mr. Hidalgo to his crates, penny candy, bruised carrots, menthol cigarettes. 2. Mr. Hidalgo never questions why I stay with my grandparents on the weekend. When a Va is bleaching floors or smoking choriza, I make a run before dinner, before I know he's ready to turn the hard open to closed sign. How much, Nana, he asks, as I spill whatever leftover coins I've saved from school lunch. Just enough as I move pennies across the scuffed gray counter. He smiles slow as tea steam and tells me, "You've got the saddest smile in the world." He bags my candy, and I think how lucky the store cats got it, sleeping on bread all day, unstirred by broken glass, trickle-down economics, a forecasted long winter. Save the bathwater. Human nature is like water. It takes the shape of its container. Wallace Stevens. In America, people don't bathe in each other's leftover water, but when he was a boy, the trough was emptied after the last pig feeding, after his younger brothers had their turn. His naked body would shiver something awful standing in it. 3 buckets of used water heated by after-dinner fire, the rinse. Avo's wasted no water since. My skin cells, hair, and navel lint floating around him didn't matter. This residue was a reminder that I always woke up to bread, that he sweat all day in the face of a steam presser. With the same certainty he knew birds flew further south, trains arrived through Penn Station, a little money was saved. He sets a cup of water on the nightstand, considers his shoddy leg, his wife's cough, the things water won't wash off. And this is the last poem for tonight. In the shadows of an orange grove. A cat stretches its paws out in defeat. There's a picture of me and you squeezing it the way children do when they mean to love. All 3 of us smiling and squirming and squinting, our eyes like sealed envelopes, the cat's 2 closed buttonholes. I don't remember its name, if we loved it, how it died. I don't even remember a time after this when we were so knit in our joy. The loneliness every piece of gravel carried under our shoes, our parents' seesaw marriage, the comfort we sought in Southern comfort, it all eventually unraveled the knot. But it was warm that day. So warm the sun chafed the oranges until they sweat, sat down on our cheeks and painted them apricot on fire. Aval was somewhere plucking chickens for dinner. We had the whole afternoon to bare our teeth at Mom's camera, to chase a cat in the shadows of an orange grove. And before I go, I just want to give a shout out to the cover artist of Divine Feminist, Maria Estrella. She's actually joining us today, so shout out to her for her beautiful cover for the anthology. Thank you all. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you for your words, and thank you for your presence.
Thank you, Marina. Awesome. 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 Fuego, fuego. Yeah, let me tell you, I was looking through the proofs and I was like, I don't know. I think I might keep these, but I have this long-standing kind of tradition where I always give the poet the proofs to either the collection they wrote or the, curated, in Marina's case. And so I wanted to take the proofs so she could see what a wonderful, this was all Marina, this book, and what a magnificent job. We're publishing it. I wanted to say that the proceeds are going to support the Pink Door. Yes. Would you mind just talking a little bit about the Pink Door and what they do?
Yeah. So the Pink Door is an organization led by poet Rachel McKibbins. It's started by Rachel McKibbins, and it's a retreat for BIPOC and queer and trans women and non-binary poets and artists. And they go to this retreat and there's workshops and there's talks and it's just a safe space where women and non-binary and trans writers of colors can just come and create. And it's really interesting because the way I found out about it was I didn't realize it was for writers of color, right? So I applied to it. So then I had to rescind the application. And Rachel was actually like, thank you for, stepping up and saying that. So it was a very interesting introduction to it, but it's an amazing cause. And I'm really happy to donate the proceeds to it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Marina. So purchasing a copy of the anthology will really be helping, again, folks from that community to write, to have a safe space, to engage in this practice and do the things that if you're a writer and you've been to workshops, and to retreats, those environments can be kind of toxic for people from different groups. So every purchase helps us support that program. So please keep that in mind in the spring when it comes around. Okay. Again, thank you to all of our readers. Fantastic job. Thank you to everyone who came tonight to listen and for being a part of it. We'll be back tomorrow. Isabel's actually reading tomorrow, and I heard she's got some really dope shit for us. So everybody be ready for that. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the press, and again, what we're trying to do is create a new ecosystem, right? Where poetry and the public and the folks from communities that are obviously near and dear to my heart. Nowadays people say BIPOC, LGBTQ plus was it before. Now it's like non-binary and trans folks. We're getting more specific, and that's always phenomenal. At the end of the day, we need to be there for each other, and we need our allies to understand what we're trying to do and to help us in that. And to work with us, not help us, to work with us, right? And to use their privilege in that way. And so what I'm trying to do, the ecosystem I'm trying to create, is where a publisher and poets work within the poetry community to do that, right? It's not always about, turning a buck. This is the value here, what we're seeing here in this moment, in this space. So thank you again for your support, everybody. Everybody, please be safe. Have a wonderful night. Come on back tomorrow, okay? Anne-Marie, I'm so jazzed to see you in the audience. Thank you so much for being here. Anne-Marie is going to read with me for the celebration of my book on December 5th. You can look at my Instagram for that stuff. I just wanted to mention that because Anne-Marie has a new book out in December also. So, we're just going to be trying to celebrate life, and always honoring, those we've lost by living that life, right? And spreading love. So, mad love, everybody. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you back here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Okay? Thank you again to our readers.